Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to. I just got up here. I'm a little bit out of breath. I had to run up here. The final Saturday night of the regular season, at least. Disappointing action here, guys. I thought A&M was gonna put up a better fight. I don't know. Did they call targeting there? Make the playoffs 4 teams again? No, dude, you can't do that. You can't do that because the other playoff, the other bowl, like New Year's Six games were so terrible without the playoff. Players would just sit out. Ohio State picks the worst day to play their worst game. What a mess that was, man. G Scott with a headbutt. We needed a G Scott headbutt, dude. If we would have gotten a G Scott headbutt, it might have been enough for a victory. R.I.P. to the Ryan Day era. Well, yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do, man. It's tough. I mean, what do you really do? I guess you move on, but we'll see what they can do in the playoff. It's not looking good though. Indiana, I think, is just destroying Purdue. I guess we shouldn't be surprised by that. UNLV. Does UNLV have a chance if they beat Boise State? I guess they do because Tulane lost. UNLV looks pretty good right now. That's obviously you're facing an 0-6 in conference Nevada team. Cuse for the win. Yeah, dude. How about Miami? They're screwed. They have to. Well, if Miami has to win the ACC, if they lose, they're gonna miss the playoff. You can't. You're not 10-3. A loss to Syracuse. Miami. That's a horrible loss for them too. They needed to win that game because if they win that game, they're in. If they lose and then they lose again, they're out. Bama getting in with 3 losses. Yeah, dude, I think it's very possible Bama could get in. Well, there's going to be a real crazy mosh pit argument with all those SEC teams. It's going to be Ole Miss, Bama, and South Carolina. I think that's going to be the huge argument. Georgia's in either way. Unfortunately, I mean, if they would have lost. They should have lost last night. We all know they should have lost. Big game tomorrow in snowy Buffalo. Yeah, hopefully it's going to be dude, they're getting hammered with snow. They're getting those snow bands, those squalls off the lake. They're getting just pelted. New York and upstate Ohio. Tech versus Georgia. Really, really disappointing for Georgia Tech. Really disappointing. I mean, yeah, there were some calls that could have happened, like the targeting and stuff, but Georgia Tech blew that game, man. I mean, but that's how it is with college football. I guess you have to give Georgia credit. I mean, we saw what happened with Ohio State. You have to fight and overcome stuff. But I mean, Georgia, I think Georgia's a fraudulent team this year. Juan, what's up, man? Thoughts on Penn State? I mean, Penn State, they'll probably be the 6th seed if I had to guess. I would imagine Penn State will probably, well, it's interesting because now Penn State is going to face Oregon. So the question with Penn State is, if they lose to Oregon, do they fall below Ohio State? Because the thing with Penn State is they already lost to Ohio State at home. So that'll be an argument. But then do you punish them for being in the Big Ten championship? Because you'd be punishing them for losing to Oregon in a game that Ohio State doesn't even play in. It's one of those things because they'd be 11-2. Ohio State is 10-2, but Ohio State beat them on the road. And Ohio State would have, you would think, a better resume. I mean, I think Penn State probably is squarely looking at like a 6 or a 7 seed if I had to guess. Thoughts on Ole Miss getting in at 14? I would have to. Ole Miss really played a disheartening game. Not that it matters. I mean, it's a rivalry. Mississippi State has been playing better. I mean, Ole Miss does have a shot. I would have to look and really. I mean, where's Ole Miss's big win? I mean, they just had such a weak non-conference schedule too. That's not helping them. I mean, so listen, you beat South Carolina by 24 on the road. So, I mean, it's hard. But the thing is, South Carolina, they keep arguing, oh, they've been playing better recently. Ole Miss loses to Florida. You beat Georgia. I mean, I think they have a chance. The loss to LSU isn't great, but it's the loss to LSU and Florida on the road. Oh, Kentucky at home. I mean, dude, this is not a playoff team to me. Those are just three bad losses, honestly, man. I mean, they do have a good win. I mean, you easily beat Georgia. Georgia's going to be a playoff team. You easily beat South Carolina on the road. That's another really good win. But this is like a typical SEC team, and they're just bipolar. You know, they win some games. You win some, you lose some. It's this Texas versus A&M game is not living up to the hype. That's for sure. Will Tennessee host a playoff game? Tennessee. Well, Tennessee's definitely going to be in. That was a good performance against Vanderbilt. They were down 14-0 early. Vanderbilt's not a bad team. They end up winning. So right now they're number 8. I would say with everything that's happened, you're looking at a 10-2 Tennessee versus a 10-2 Ohio State. The losses at Arkansas, at Georgia, the big wins for them. You beat Bama. I don't know. I think they probably will be the 8. Yeah, I mean, they probably will be the 8 seed if I had to guess Tennessee. They're right on the border, but they'll probably be the 8 seed facing a 9. That would be my guess. I think they're going to stay right at number 8. Because the thing is, Tennessee, well, I think no matter what, no matter what, an ACC team will jump them because they'll make the playoff, but I would say Tennessee will host a playoff game, but barely as an 8 seed. That would be my guess. Washington losing. But they're in the red zone now. Can Washington mount a comeback? Indiana really trying to pour it on. USA Today has Penn State as a 5 seed. Yeah, but that's going to change. It's going to change no matter what, you would think, unless they decide to, if Penn State loses to Oregon in a really close fashion and the committee doesn't want to punish them, that would be the only way they would stay there. Because Penn State's going to have to face Oregon now. Do you think Alabama is in the playoffs? I'm going to have to look at the resumes. I think Alabama's got a decent shot to make it. They're right on the bubble. It's going to come down to whether or not another ACC team makes it. So Alabama should be rooting for SMU. SMU won, yeah. So Bama needs to be rooting for SMU over Miami. I think that's the title game. SMU, but Miami did lose, so I think Miami's still in the ACC title game. But Alabama needs to be rooting for SMU because then the ACC would only get one team in, and it becomes like this mosh pit argument with 3-loss SEC teams. And Bama did beat South Carolina. So I mean, but these teams are all flawed. But how do you feel about being more accurate than the 13 Keys guy? It's, Yankee. I really don't care about that dude. Honestly, he's a buffoon. SMU or Clemson? Oh, SMU faces Clemson. That's right, because Clemson didn't even play a conference game today. They faced South Carolina. Because Clemson lost, well, I mean, since Clemson lost, they need a win. They have to win in their conference championship. I think Clemson might be able to beat SMU. If Clemson beats SMU, then SMU's probably still gonna make it. But what is SMU's schedule even though, bro? SMU has not had a good schedule, I feel like. You lose to BYU. All right, BYU's at least a decent loss. Louisville isn't ranked. Pitt's not ranked. Yeah, what a bad schedule, man. They're probably so they're gonna make it at 11-2. Let's say they lose to Clemson. Do they have a single ranked win? Yeah, you're right. Miami's out of the playoff. Because that game was non-conference. Clemson lost today, but it was non-conference. My projected top 12, Oregon 1, Texas 2, Penn State 3, Notre Dame 4, Georgia 5, SMU 6, Tennessee 7, Indiana 8, Boise State 9, Arizona. No, that's not going to be it, man. Ohio State's going to be significantly higher than wherever you. I mean, that's not. Notre Dame, yeah, Notre Dame cannot get a bye, nor do they deserve one. I mean, they've got no good wins, I feel like, outside of A&M, and that A&M's win is looking bad. Is A&M even going to be ranked? Maybe they'll be ranked at like 24 if they lose this game. I can't believe some of these teams, the schedules have just been crazy this year, man. Would you do a John Stewart 2028 video? Yeah, man. Honestly, if I did a John Stewart 2028 video, like prediction video, I'd probably have him being pretty competitive. I mean, those videos, though, man, they're just all like the only reason I did that prediction video, I just wanted to see if it would get views, honestly, because then I could do a bunch of different ones. But like the actual prediction itself is meaningless because it's impossible to say where candidates are going to be 3.5 years from now in terms of predicting how well a candidate's going to do because we don't even know what they're going to run on. But it's like, I don't know. Clemson will beat SMU. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, but then SMU probably still makes it with 0 good wins at 11-2. SMU probably makes it as I mean, if you're Ohio State, you would love to face SMU in the playoff in a 10v7 game, 7v10. Bama beat 4 top 25 teams. Bama had honestly a pretty good win against Auburn, although Auburn, I don't know, Auburn's not very good. Let's see, Bama beat Georgia, South Carolina. Yeah, I don't really think this one against Missouri is kind of crap. Missouri's quarterback was injured. That was like LSU. I mean, LSU isn't as good. I mean, this is, you could argue Bama. I mean, it just comes down to the metrics, I think. I think Bama does have the best metrics out of the 3-loss SEC teams. But Indiana, I would imagine, is going to be on the road. Although, I don't know, would they move Indiana in front of Ohio State? I mean, Indiana only has 1 loss. Ohio State has 2 losses, but Ohio State beat Indiana very easily. I mean, Indiana's schedule is terrible as well. They don't have a good win. I don't know if they would do that. I think Indiana probably stays in they're definitely not going to have Indiana face Ohio State in the first round. Maybe Indiana gets Tennessee on the road in an 8v9 game. Indiana at Tennessee. I know I'm biased, but I wouldn't say Georgia is fraudulent. They have 3 good wins, just inconsistent. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how most teams are, to be fair. I mean, Georgia, we all know they have the talent, but at a certain point, it is kind of like, I don't know, man. They've just been so inconsistent throughout the entire year. They haven't strung 3 great games together. It's hard to really trust them going into the playoff. As a Buckeye fan, that was painful to watch. Dude, that Ohio State game, I mean, honestly, I kind of thought it was when it was tied at 10 at halftime, I was like, this is good for Ohio State. They played shit in the first half. They're getting the ball to start the second half. And then Trevion Henderson doesn't even field the freaking kick properly. They start at the 7-yard line. Well, that happened in the first half as well with Michigan. What a weird game. The first kickoff of the game, Michigan, it bounced off of them and they had to run it out or something, and they got to the 11. And then it happened at the start of the second half for Ohio State. Washington with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. I want to see teams do more 2-point conversions. It's kind of sad they don't do it. UNLV. I mean, UNLV's fighting for a spot themselves. You know what? Let's just expand this to the full FBS because these games are not good. We got TCU. Looks like they're going to get a win. They're probably going to miss a bowl at 5-7. Georgia Southern looks like they're going to go to 8-4. App State, they didn't even play a full 12 games. I think they had one of their games canceled, App State. Is that correct? Yeah, they did against Liberty. That might have been because of a hurricane, I think, back in October. Washington State has really struggled in the second half of the year. They might lose to Wyoming, 2-9 Wyoming. Florida is handling FSU. Man, this is probably the most irrelevant Florida versus FSU matchup we've ever seen. I didn't even know this game was happening. Florida up 14-3. FSU possibly in danger of falling to 2-10 on the year. LSU beating Oklahoma. Kind of a fun high-scoring game. 24-17. Start of the second half. LSU looking to go into 8-4. Maybe they'll get ranked. That would help Alabama. Oregon, 28 points in the first half. I wonder what Gabriel's stats are. And that's kind of a weird. Only 110 yards for 28 points in the first half. Must be some turnovers. Texas versus A&M, 17-0. Texas taking care of business. They'll make the playoff as easily as long as they win that game. Iowa State, Kansas State, Big 12 ranked battle. Fun game. Probably going to be higher scoring. Virginia Tech versus Virginia 10-3. Virginia Tech's way better than Virginia. I think they'll win. James Madison crushing Marshall. Both those teams 8-3. The final game is New Mexico, Hawaii. Ohio State troopers had to use pepper spray to break up the brawl. Yeah, dude. Did you see what Gus Johnson said at the end of the game? Michigan fans were pissed. Gus Johnson was like, Michigan wins, and they didn't cheat this time. What an asshole thing to say after a team just upset. He's like, Michigan finally wins. They didn't cheat this time. What's the most conservative Power 5 college to go to? I mean, probably Alabama. Mississippi, maybe. I don't know. Michigan wins. And they didn't cheat this time. And Michigan fans were like, fuck you. You asshole. Ohio State has the highest paid roster. And well, no, they don't. That's a false narrative. If you look it up, Ohio State doesn't have the highest paid roster. Texas does. Ohio State, there's like a bunch of teams that are around 25 to 20 million, but they just focus on Ohio State. Why? I don't know. I guess because it became more public. Sports cards a good first investment? I would say probably not, man. You think South Carolina has a chance? Well, they have a chance because South Carolina is using the narrative that, well, they've been playing the best out of anyone. They're on a big winning streak. You know, Ole Miss has that bad loss to Florida. Bama has a really bad loss to Oklahoma. So I can understand. I can understand what South Carolina is more of, less so much of the resume because they've lost to those teams, and more so of recency. They've been playing better. South Carolina needs a lot of help. Yeah, because they've lost to both those teams. Can Ole Miss make the playoffs? Yeah, I mean, technically they're going to need some help. I don't think Ole Miss is making it, man, because they needed a team like Indiana to lose another game. Well, Ole Miss needed to beat Florida. If they would have beaten Florida, they would have been in. But I don't think they're going to make it now, honestly, Ole Miss. I'll have to see what it looks like tomorrow. But they needed a team like Indiana to get knocked out of it completely. And Indiana's going to finish 11-1. What happens to Penn State if they lose the Big Ten championship? Well, I'm sure Penn State will argue that they should probably stay where they're at, which I think is probably going to be, they probably want to be at number 5, because then they probably face like Arizona State if they're at number 5. But I could see them getting moved down, honestly, a little bit. I mean, does Ohio State jump them? Does Notre Dame jump them? You know, those are the things you need to... If Texas loses to Georgia, would they be above? Because Georgia obviously would jump into the top 4 at that point. Would Texas also be above Penn State? I mean, the problem with Penn State is I don't think they have a good win. You know? Now, I mean, I think USC was a lot better when Penn State faced them, but it is an issue for Penn State. The win against Maryland is good. It's a dominant win, but it's not a good team. Yeah, they just don't have a good win. They faced West Virginia. People thought West Virginia was going to be decent. I mean, Illinois, I guess, is their good win. Illinois technically is ranked, and they beat. But even Illinois being your good win at home, I mean, that's tough, man. I think USC is probably their best win, honestly, even though USC is worse in terms of the record. They were competitive with Ohio State. I mean, barely beating Minnesota. Minnesota, I think, is a decent team, but still, that's not... You win that game by 1 point. That's tough. But yeah, man, I think Penn State, it's going to be... The problem with Penn State is they just don't have a rock-solid resume. So that could open the committee up to moving them down if they lose to Oregon by like 14 points. If they're really competitive with Oregon, they could argue that they should probably stay. I mean, what is this game? They're not going to show the analytics yet. Wow, they only have Oregon -3. Although I guess I'm not surprised by that. Oregon sitting -3 in that game. I think Ohio State was -3.5 against Oregon. But obviously that's because people thought it was going to happen. Tulane Army, Tulane -4.5. Yeah, I mean, Tulane suffered that bad loss against Memphis. Clemson, SMU, Clemson -2. Clemson's better analytically. That'll be a close game, though, I would imagine. Hey, not trying to get political, I apologize, but with the Trump inauguration, you think riots and stuff will ensue? I'm scared. I don't want another 2020 riots. What are your thoughts? Ease my mind. Yeah, I don't think there's if there are riots, that would be good for Republicans. It would just give us more political leverage over Democrats if they decide to riot. So, I mean, even if the riots happened, it would only make Democrats look dumber. Trump easily won the election. I mean, what are they rioting? They just hate Trump. It seems so just overplayed at this point. I don't think there's going to be any crazy riots. I mean, I would be more so worried about Trump's safety rather than riots, honestly. The riots just don't do anything for. I mean, what are they rioting exactly? They just don't like Trump. It just make them look dumb. They can go burn more shit down and give us more leverage over them. It's just like the whataboutism when they say January 6th, you can just say BLM. You're not very impressed with Penn State? Yeah, me neither, man. I mean, when you win by 1 point against Minnesota, it's tough, man. I mean, I don't, it's like, I mean, this Indiana team is really trying to run up the score. It's disappointing to see. But this is what Indiana does. You gotta respect it. Boy, this Texas versus A&M game is terrible. There's 4th and 3 for A&M. I'm not gonna look at this computer because I'm guessing it's ahead of me. 4th and 3 for A&M. Oh, this is the dual threat. Yeah, he didn't even get it. This is pathetic. He might have gotten injured, the A&M QB. This is just not good. They say this is a great rivalry. They hyped this game up way too much. This is the SEC ESPN talking about this game being good. This is a crap game. They can't even score. Clemson is not better analytically. SMU been winning dominant. Yeah, well, you know what? I can tell you why it's the case. But yeah, Clemson is better analytically than SMU. I mean, SMU's beaten no one. That's the problem. They've had some dominant wins. I mean, they beat Boston College by 10. That's nothing special. They beat Notre Dame, or they beat Duke by 1 point. That's not good. They allowed 42 points to TCU. They scored 15 points against BYU at home. They beat Nevada by 5. Nevada is one of the worst teams in the Mountain West, man. So that's why. And then you look at a Clemson team. Clemson's had some really impressive blowout victories. You score 66 points against App State. App State's not bad. You annihilate that Stanford team. You're annihilating teams. I mean, they've had a few close games, but you got a huge win against the Citadel. A massive victory that really helped them. That victory over the Citadel, that's going to propel them to the playoff. That's a top win right there when you drop a 50 burger on the Citadel. Notre Dame will be a 6 or a 5 seed. Yeah, I don't think they'll give Notre Dame a 5 seed, honestly. I think Notre Dame, my guess is Notre Dame is probably the 6th seed, but I'm just trying to understand where they're going to put Ohio State. My guess is they'll do Penn State 5, Notre Dame 6, Ohio State 7. That's my guess. Even if Penn State loses. But who knows? Maybe listen, if Penn State gets crushed by Oregon, I could see them moving Penn State down. But I think they'll probably give Penn State the 5. Because Penn State, even if they lose to Oregon, do you really want to punish them for that? Although, I don't know. Maybe they'll give Ohio State the 5. But, I mean, Ohio State technically now does have a pretty bad loss. Penn State's got a much better loss than Ohio State, but Ohio State beat Penn State head-to-head. And Penn State finishes the 12-game regular season with less losses than Ohio State. It would be Ohio State 10-2 versus Penn State 11-2. But then Penn State lost to Ohio State, but they made the Big Ten championship. So, I mean, we're really we have to speculate on what they're going to do. We don't know what they're going to do. But I know Ohio State will probably have the better resume if Penn State loses to Oregon. Even with the loss to Michigan. What happens if SMU loses the ACC championship? Well, then Clemson will have a bye. Clemson will have a bye, and then SMU will probably make it as the 10 seed and face Ohio State. Ohio State will be the 7 seed, and SMU will be the 10. And Clemson will be the 3, and Boise State will be the 4. But I don't know, man. Now Arizona State's starting to win games easily. I mean, Arizona State just crushed Arizona. Maybe Arizona State's going for a bye. I mean, listen, if Boise State loses, who's Boise State facing? Oh, Boise State's facing UNLV. Yeah, if Boise State loses to UNLV, you could be looking at possibly Arizona State becoming back onto the 4, back to getting a bye, and then UNLV being the 12. Or if Army wins, they could be the 12. I don't think Tulane would. Tulane has 3 losses now. That American Championship is that's a home game for Army. I didn't even realize that. Just like the Boise State has a home game in their championship. Normally the conference championships are man, this game will not even get to half. Normally the conference championship games are neutral site. But I know the Mountain West has always been a home game for someone. You predicted Syracuse winning versus Miami. Well, actually, I think I did have Miami winning, but only by a few points, and I said Syracuse could beat them. The trans bill, they do some shit for LGBT. Oh, you mean they'd protest for them? Yeah, I mean, who cares, though? It's irrelevant, honestly. What team will be the Florida State of next year? Expected to be good, but flops. Well, I mean, it's yeah, I can't answer that because a lot of teams get hyped up through the portal. So we'll have to see. What started the brawl for the OSU game? Michigan trying to plant another flag. I mean, this always happens with Ohio State games. Michigan trying to come out and plant a flag, and Ohio State didn't like it, and that's what started it. Kyle McCord played pretty good. He had a load of passing yards this year, man. Well, they threw the ball a ton. Syracuse, he did have a I mean, he had a few really bad games, but yeah, he had a good season. Mountain West Championship game should be in Vegas. Well, that would be a good for UNLV. Ohio State has 2 Big Ten losses. Why would they be a 7 seed? Well, I mean, 10-2. Where else would they be an 8 seed? I mean, it's their resume is still going to stack up very well against 2 lost teams. Let's just say that. Do you watch any other sports? I mean, I haven't been watching as much NFL as I used to. I mean, I used to watch NBA. I haven't watched as much sports recently as I did when I was younger. Indiana should be the 8 seed. Yeah, well, they'd get a bye if that happened. But I mean, Indiana has no good wins. That's the problem. Or they wouldn't get a bye. They'd get a home game. I mean, the eight seed versus 9 seed is the most important because you want that home game. But I think they might saddle Indiana with a 9 seed going on the road against Tennessee. That would be my guess right now. You think Ohio State gets a home playoff game? Yeah. I heard from my cousin who's a South Carolina fan and constantly bragged about the Clemson loss. I hate to say it, but I'm going to have to root for Clemson to beat South Carolina to get in. Um, no, I actually what he's saying so it can prop up Clemson for South Carolina. Yeah, I know what he's saying, but honestly, he's probably wrong. He's going to have to root for Clemson to beat but the problem with that is Clemson would then steal a spot. If SMU beats Clemson, well, I guess Clemson could argue that they would if they're a 3-loss team and they lose to SMU, they should still be in over South Carolina because they beat South Carolina. But I don't know, man. That's hard. The problem is SMU would probably be in over South Carolina as an at-large if they lost to Clemson because SMU would only have 2 losses. They'd be 11-2. I mean, it is a complete mess, but I think SMU would probably get in if they lose to Clemson. If Clemson loses to SMU, they're not getting in as an at-large. It would just be SMU, and there'd only be one ACC team. Miami's out. Miami just doesn't have the resume, and they're not even in their championship. Is Ohio State lost to Michigan a quality loss? Oh man. No, it's not a quality loss, man. Come on. 7-5 team. Everything is falling Bama's way. Well, I think Bama needs SMU to beat Clemson. Am I going to the inauguration? I wasn't planning on it. Is Georgia still going to host a first round game if they lose? I don't think so. I mean, because the thing is, what's going to have to be taken into account with Georgia is their performance against Georgia Tech. I mean, they should have lost that game. Now, sure, they won it and they'll make the playoff. That's fine. But in terms of them playing as shitty as they did at home against Tech, and then let's say they lose to Texas, they're going to have to be on the road as like a, although I don't know, man, where would Georgia even be placed? Georgia would probably be, it's hard to say, man. I mean, it's really, because Georgia would be a 3-loss team, but do you really punish them for losing in the SEC championship game? I mean, if you're the committee, you want to avoid Ohio State facing Georgia in the first round. You want to avoid Ohio State facing Alabama. Preferably, if you're the committee, you want Ohio State to face SMU and Indiana to face an SEC team. That's what I think the committee's going to do. But I don't know where Georgia would be. I mean, because you still have Ohio State somewhere in there. You still have Penn State somewhere in there. You have Notre Dame somewhere in. So there's a bit of a backlog now. There is a bit of a backlog. Because I think Notre Dame is going to host a playoff game. They are. I mean, they're 11-1. Their analytics are good enough. Unless they really wanted to punish Notre Dame for not being in a conference, and that they would have to bump them down significantly. I mean, Notre Dame will probably fall just because teams win their conference championships, but they'll probably be like, are they number 6 right now? They might just stay at number 6 and be in a 6v11. Yeah, they'll be. I think Notre Dame will probably be 6 if I had to guess. 6v11 game they'll host, and they may get to face. I would say Notre Dame versus Alabama. Alabama is the 11. Notre Dame versus probably Bama over Ole Miss and South Carolina, if I had to guess. Where do you project Ohio State to be ranked? I think 7th. I think they'll be ranked 7th. That would be my guess. I mean, there's an argument that could be lower, though. Where would Oregon fall if they get blown out by Penn State? If they get blown out by Penn State, that would be pretty shocking. I think Oregon is pretty much safe from being blown out. They might lose by a field goal. I don't think Penn State would blow Oregon out. But if they do, like, let's say Penn State wins by like 3 touchdowns, I still think Oregon's probably at number 5. Because they're a 1-loss team then, because they're the only undefeated team, so they really have they're the only ones that really have a margin for error in terms of being a 5 seed. They could lose and still be a 5 seed. Because then they'd be 12-1. I mean, they have to win today, but I think they're going to win. Yeah, they're up by 14. They're going to cover that game, it looks like. They're going to cover that spread. Indiana whooping Purdue. Yeah, dude, I saw that. Did you see the yardage difference in that game? I wonder what the yardage is now. 397 to 47. Yeah, and that's going to help your analytics when you outgain a team like that. That's crazy, man. You outgain a team by 350 yards, and probably that game's on FS1. I didn't even know FS1 had a Big Ten window at 7 o'clock. That's strange. Do you think Ohio State can still win the national title? And if they do, should Buckeye fans forgive Ryan Day? Well, obviously. You know, there are some Ohio State fans that think, I mean, listen, the Michigan game is huge, for sure. But, I mean, if you win the national title is bigger than the Ohio State game, or than the Michigan game. It is. The national title is bigger. So, yeah, they need to forgive him if he wins that. But, I mean, dude, I'm starting to have some serious doubts of Ohio. I mean, this year it's wide open. The good thing for Ohio State is there's no, like, super elite SEC team. So it's wide open. But, I mean, Ohio State looked so bad. The problem with Ohio State is they can't run the ball. Like, they seriously cannot run the ball. and it's a big issue. And and now they can't throw. I mean, they couldn't throw in the second half. Now, a lot of that was also just Michigan sitting on the ball the entire fourth quarter. A lot of people are overlooking that Michigan had the ball for like 13 minutes in the fourth quarter. And so the offense really didn't have a ton of chances in the fourth quarter. But, I mean, it's wide open, but you're starting to lose faith because they legit cannot run the ball. They do not have a good enough offensive line with the injuries that they've sustained to be able to get a push. They have no run blocking right now, and they have not had good run blocking for like 3 weeks. I mean, it's a continuous issue, and they keep trying to run the ball. I mean, but even if they just go to a pass only team, I don't think Will Howard is good enough for that. I mean, maybe if you had CJ Stroud, you could win some of these games, but like with someone like Will Howard, you want to throw the ball 45 times with him and he's like injured. I mean, it's not a good situation to be in. I mean, listen, the goal for Ohio State would be to be the 7th seed and face BYU. Face SMU in the first round. You face SMU at home. That's a gimme win. And then hopefully, what are you facing? One of the top 4 teams after that? Hopefully you get like, well, if it's a 7v10, I don't know where they would line up in terms of who you would face after that. But you would want to avoid, I mean, you're going to have to face someone good. You're going to probably either face the SEC champion or Oregon. I mean, that's just the reality. Do you think Ryan Day can get fired before the playoff? No, he won't get fired. He's not getting fired before the playoff. Who's in the Big 12 championship game? I think Arizona State is. They normally have this. Is this not even? Yeah, Arizona State is. And I think dude, I have no clue. I think there's like 50 different scenarios, but it's Arizona State against possibly one of these two teams, Iowa State or Kansas State. Dude, honestly, either of these teams could easily beat Arizona State. Although Arizona State's playing better, Iowa State is 6-2. I think Iowa State, if they win this game, they go. What about Colorado? Does Colorado still have a chance? I don't know. There's a bunch of tiebreaker problems with the Big 12. It's a mess. But I think it's going to be Iowa State versus Arizona State if I had to guess. Could Ryan Day get fired if he doesn't win the national title? Yeah, I think they're gonna have to fire him if he does. I mean, if he makes the national title, like the thing is, if they lose in the first round, I think he's 1000% getting fired. If they lose in the second round, he's probably still getting fired. If they lose in the semifinal, he's probably still getting fired. If they lose the national title game, they're probably gonna keep him still. But if he gets fired, if he loses in the first or second round, they'll fire him. I'm guessing for sure. Chip Kelly just doesn't give up on the run. Yeah, I mean, but dude, the thing is with, like, obviously they should have just thrown the hell out of the ball against Michigan, but you're not going to get away with doing that against better teams, especially with someone like Will Howard. So what is Will Howard going to go attempt like for? I mean, you have to somehow be able to run the ball. With Will Howard, you need a run game for support, but they just have no push on the offensive line. But against Michigan, yeah, they should have just aired the ball out. I mean, you could easily beat Michigan doing that, but you're not going to be able to beat these playoff teams doing it, even if you know now you have to throw. But I don't know. There was just no adjustment by Ohio State. It was pretty shocking. I mean, this Notre Dame USC game, there was like, I feel like there was 35 points scored in the fourth quarter. It seemed like there were so many points scored. Looks like, yeah, Indiana's definitely going to cover that 29-point spread. That's for sure. Is Ohio State out of the playoffs? No, they'll be in. How is SMU a gimme win for Ohio State? Well, I mean, let me correct myself. They would be an easier game for Ohio State than having to face an SEC team. You want to avoid an SEC team if you're Ohio State. I mean, that's just the reality. Just avoid the SEC teams. And that's not because the SEC, they've been down this year, but they still have so much talent. That's the problem. And the SEC I'm guessing the SEC probably gets one 3-loss team in, and it's probably going to be Bama as the 11 seed. And the 6th seed might end up being Notre Dame against Bama. Or it might be Penn State against Bama. But we'll have to see how Penn State does against Oregon. Is Miami still in? No, Miami's done. The problem for Miami is their schedule. I mean, they still are a 2-loss team in a Power 4 conference. I mean, do they have any good wins? Florida, I mean, Florida's not going to be ranked. Louisville, not going to be ranked. I mean, they just have no wins, man. That's the problem. You have two losses and no wins, and you lost to a Georgia. Georgia Tech's not terrible. Georgia Tech's, we saw them almost beat Georgia, but they're not gonna. Miami's done, man. It's just not gonna happen. You can't be, you have zero ranked wins and you're not even in your conference championship. That's a big issue. I mean, their fans might try and argue it, but it's like there's just no way. Was Michigan and OSU both at fault more than the other? No, I don't think. I think it's a lot. I mean, listen, that type of stuff is going to happen. Michigan wants to do that. They want to plant a flag, and so they're not going to like that. Obviously, I mean, I think a lot of people are kind of like it's kind of pathetic for Ohio State. I mean, you've lost to them 4 times now, but I mean, like you can understand they view it as disrespectful, so they're going to come out and say you're not going to do it. I don't think. I think it's a lot to do about nothing. I don't think it really is a big deal. I mean, it's. I think the flag planting stuff is kind of, I don't know, man. I mean, Baker Mayfield did it. It was like, all right, whatever, Like all anyone remembers is Baker Mayfield doing that. But it kind of gets old. I mean, I don't really care if Michigan did it, but then Ohio State's going to come out and defend it. That's just what happens. I don't think it's a big deal. Kansas State is eliminated. Oh, so it would be Iowa State. So this is my guess. If Iowa State wins, they make it. If Iowa State loses, then is it Colorado? Well, who did Colorado? Did Colorado face Kansas State? I feel like Colorado had an easy schedule this year in the Big 12. Did they face any of these teams? They did face Kansas State and they lost. They did not face Iowa State. They lost to Kansas, Kansas State, and Nebraska. So they have 2 conference losses. I think they did kind of have an easy schedule in the Big 12 based off of the teams they played. Because Utah wasn't very good this year. Cincinnati, Tech was okay. Zona was pretty bad this year. UCF was not very good. Did UCF end up winning that game? I don't think so. I didn't even. They got they lost to Utah. Utah had a bad year themselves. Bama money line versus Notre Dame. Yeah, Bama might be favorites in that game, dude. Bama might be like -2. I mean, to be fair, both Bama and Notre Dame are loved by the betting markets. So it's not like Notre Dame is a bad team, but I think they might. A lot of this comes down to, I'll just tell you what the line would be right now. It's very easy to see what the line would be. Neutral site game, Bama against Notre Dame would be about a point favorite, actually. I'm guessing that would probably be about a pick 'em. Notre Dame might be a point favorite. Ohio State, SMU. Ohio State at home versus SMU. Well, this is going to update. Ohio State's going to move down. Their points are going to go down a little bit because they lost to Michigan. I might go down like 1 or 2 points, honestly. There's not going to be a huge fluctuation, though, because this late in the season, you're not going to get a huge fluctuation. They might go down to like 25.2. So if they're at 25, where's SMU at? SMU's at 15. They might go up to 16, 20. Ohio State would be like -12 at home against SMU if those two teams faced. I mean, not that the betting is everything. Do you think Boise State will get a bye? It's dependent on. I mean, if they win, I think they're probably going to get a bye. Where's Boise here? I thought Boise was pretty high. Man, Boise is low in terms of the FPI. I mean, I think Boise's set up for a bye because think about it. They're going to face UNLV. UNLV's a solid team. UNLV's a top 25 team according to the committee. So I would imagine if Boise State wins, they're going to get that bye as the 4. Even though the analytics don't love them. How about Kyle McCord balling out? He's had a nice season. There's been a few, they've thrown the ball a ton. Syracuse says. I think he leads the nation. And I mean, listen, with Kyle McCord, it was never going to work out at Ohio State. Kyle McCord's just kind of a schmuck. He's just kind of like you can just tell with the personality. It's like It's just not going to work out. I mean, it's BYU if Iowa State loses. Is it BYU? Well, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, BYU is, I think they only have 2 losses. Well, BYU has to beat Houston, though. I'm sure BYU, but I'm sure they will beat Houston. Who are you picking to win it all? I mean, it seems wide open right now, man. It feels like maybe, I mean, I don't know if I can trust Texas, but Texas looks really good. They look to be peaking. I mean, Notre Dame, I can't trust Notre Dame against SEC teams. I really can't. Ohio State, it's hard to trust them right now. I mean, I would probably lean to Texas right now. I mean, that's a cookie cutter pick, but there's a lot of teams I could see winning it. You think Cam Rising should have to go look for a job or go back to school? I don't think he has another year left. I think that had to have been it, man. That had to have been the last year of eligibility for him. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. I know, but they have played well since then, and they only have 1 loss. You got Notre Dame winning the Natty at 14 and going 14-1. I mean, we'll have to see, man. Do you think Indiana's coach will leave? Probably not. I don't know which jobs are going to be open. I don't think there's going to be a ton of jobs open. I mean, he signed an extension. Not that that matters a ton, but I don't think so. It seems like he likes it there, but who knows? I mean, if he gets more money, he'll probably go. I just don't know if there's going to be a big enough job open. But also, he's a little bit older as well. That's another thing you have to take into account if you're a really elite program. I mean, I guess does the Florida job become open? I mean, Florida's playing well, and I think Napier has a pretty high buyout. I don't know. They might give him another year there. What is Florida going to finish? 7-5? They beat FSU. Can someone explain how Boise might get a bye? It's because of how bad the Big 12 is this year. That's the only reason they would get a bye, because the Big 12 is the Big 12 champion would be ranked lower than Boise State. If that's the case, and Boise State's the Mountain West champion, then they would get the bye, or like the highest ranked Mountain West. I guess it's the highest ranked Group of 5 team being ranked higher than the Big 12 champion. The Big 12 champion still has to make it, but if they're not ranked higher than the highest ranked Group of 5 team, then the Group of 5 team gets the bye. Because it's just how bad the Big 12 is this year. I mean, the Boise State should be the 12 seed or around there, but it's because of how bad the Big 12 is that they would catapult up that high. OSU will likely be in the 8 to 10 range. I think they'll probably be 7. That's where I would put them. Well, dude, a lot of this comes down to strength of record. OSU strength of record is that's not what I wanted to go to. OSU strength of record is going to take a bit of a hit, but resume strength of record at number 3. Yeah, so right now OSU, I mean, Ohio State's going to be jockeying with teams like it depends. I mean, obviously if Georgia loses, I think for sure they're lower. Ohio State is going to be jockeying with a team like Texas though, because if Texas loses to Georgia, then Texas has 2 losses, Ohio State has 2 losses. You know, you'd like to be higher than, I mean, the problem is though, Texas is about to beat A&M. And so they're probably going to move up in strength of record. Ohio State's going to move down a little bit because they lost to Michigan. I mean, Ohio State should stay ahead of Indiana pretty much no matter what. I mean, this is good if they're ahead of Notre Dame. I don't know if that'll stay that way. I would imagine they're going to stay ahead of all these other teams, though. I mean, so like if you're a lead in strength of record, that should be good for Ohio State to potentially be like a 6 or a 7. But if, you know, you don't want to fall down to like 8, 9 range. You don't want to really face a Tennessee. I mean, you face Tennessee on the road. That's a miserable game, you know. If you fall down to 9, that's the game that I think Indiana's going to have. Maybe Indiana will host Tennessee. I don't know. Pepe, what's up? What's up, man? What's going on, Pepe? Penn State's schedule is laughable. Well, there's a lot of these teams that have shitty schedules, though. I mean, Texas's schedule's been shit as well. Now Texas is beating Texas A&M, but even A&M's going to have 4 losses now. I mean, look at Indiana's schedule. Their schedule's horrible. I mean, they haven't beaten a single team. Indiana, Penn State, Texas, all shit schedules. Clemson can still get in since Miami lost, even though they lost to South Carolina. They have, yeah, no, Clemson, if they win, they're in, because then they win the conference. If they get an auto bid, they'll get a bye, very likely. Although, I don't know, maybe, yeah, Clemson will be a weird one to rank. Man, Clemson is not liked, but yeah, I think Clemson might not even get a bye if they, well, imagine Clemson wins the ACC, but the Big 12 champion is higher. And the Mountain West is also higher. Then what is Clemson, the 12 seed? Imagine, I mean, I would really not want to face Clemson if I'm a 5 seed. Although I don't know, man. Clemson's not that great. They scored 14 points on offense. Did you expect Michigan to turn up today? No, I didn't think Michigan was going to win, honestly. I thought there's no way Michigan had the offense. And, I mean, Ohio State was going to struggle to run the ball, but I did not expect Michigan to. I mean, Michigan struggled on offense, but they had like a 9-minute drive, and I think that 9-minute drive really ended the game. Even though that drive ended in an interception, it was such a long drive, and it shortened the game, and it shortened the fourth quarter. And even the interception, I mean, Ohio State had the ball at their own 10-yard line. Did you see that interception? And what Gus Johnson acted like Ohio State just won the college football playoff. He was like the hero. He was like the hero, Captain Jack. Dude, he acted like they won. The game was tied. They were 20-point favorites. The game's tied. They're acting like Jack Sawyer takes his helmet off on the field like they just won the national title, and they got the ball at their own 10-yard line. Tulane in the running for four if Boise loses. I don't think so. I think Tulane has too many losses. Tulane would not be above the Big 12 champion. That's the problem for Tulane. They needed to beat Memphis. But Tulane, I guess, I still don't think they're getting it. I mean, Tulane is like, it's tough because their analytics are so good. Yeah, Indiana they might win this game 52-0, maybe 59-0. Purdue they're so horribly bad. They're so terrible. It looks like Oregon's gonna go up by 21. A&M, I guess, forces a punt there. What's Oregon's strength of schedule? Strength of schedule is kind of weird. I think Oregon's strength of schedule is shit, honestly, dude. If I remember correctly. But strength of schedule, sometimes the strength of schedule doesn't really... Yeah, Oregon's 56 in terms of strength of schedule. It's not good. Ohio State's 26. Georgia's 2. Penn State's 32. Indiana's is just dog shit. See, look, this is the other problem for Miami. 59 strength of schedule. Bama's at 14. South Carolina's at 15. Tennessee's at 25. SMU's at 79. Notre Dame's at 78. See, Notre Dame might fall down a few spots. I don't know. They just they have such a horrible loss at home and such a bad strength schedule. That win against USC is going to help them a little bit, but that win was kind of... I mean, they got a pick six that kind of really helped them, honestly, in that game. I don't know what I think USC outgained them. Yeah, they did. 557. They outgained them by over 100 yards. USC did. I don't know how much of that was garbage time yards, but... Will Howard's apology. Yeah, I mean, dude, Will Howard, he was kind of talking shit and stuff. I mean, he just had a shitty game. It seemed like he was concussed or something. I don't know. Are you going to do a live reaction to the next rating show? I don't know. Maybe I'll do something like that. Gus Johnson. Dude, Gus Johnson friggin' had a climax or something when Jack Sawyer had that interception. That was crazy. He was like, oh my God. Dude, I can find that. I have it in here somewhere. Oh, maybe I don't. Oh god, here it is. Just listen to this. Dude, and this is 10 to 10.
Warren looking, and it's intercepted at the goal line. Unbelievable. Wow, Jack Sawyer. The hero.
The hero.
Captain Jack.
The dude's doing like a Naruto run. I mean, they acted like they won the freaking college football playoff national title. I mean, they got the ball at their own 10-yard line or some shit. Like, this is not the hero. The dude takes his helmet off. The hero.
Oh, Jack Sawyer. The hero.
I mean,
Captain Jack.
I mean, if it was 17 to 10 and he did that, I could understand it because it like almost clinches the game. I mean, in a tie game, we're gonna sit here and act like they just won. They got the ball at their own 10-yard line now. But that was a good play by Michigan. Look how wide open he is. This ball needs to be floated. I mean, Warren is so bad. He didn't see. That was a good play by Sawyer though, because you know if you're an NPC defensive lineman, you're just gonna automatically just try and either rush or you know. He notices, and of course Ohio State is completely fooled on this play. they have absolutely nobody covering him.
Warren looking.
Does Auburn have any hope for the future? It's hard in the SEC. It's a grinder. I mean, they've got a really good young receiver, Cam Coleman. It's gonna be tough, man. I know they're also gonna flip that 5-star corner from Ohio State. The kid's from Alabama, so it doesn't surprise me, but yeah, it's going to be tough, man. You know, in the SEC, listen, look at A&M in the year they're having. Auburn could probably have a season like that, go 9-3. Well, A&M's going to go 8-4, but I mean, in the SEC, it seems like some different teams, you know, Auburn might be able, they might reach a peak at a certain year if they get the right transfer QB. They spend a lot of money. They have a 10-2 year, make the playoff. I could see it from Auburn. They have the money to do it. It's just the SEC it just depends on how your schedule aligns. Dude, but did you see when Gus Johnson, dude, Michigan fans got pissed off at Gus Johnson. He said something hilarious. Dude, this kid spit on Michigan players. Oh my God. Just look at his face. Just look at him. The dude spit on Michigan players as they were coming out of the tunnel. Dude, look, Ryan Day watching the.
He's playing the flag. Come here, bro. Fuck that shit, man. Fuck these guys. Play the flag on our field. Fuck you.
Dude, Ryan Day is just standing there doing nothing. He's doing nothing. That's Ryan Day.
Fuck that shit, man. Fuck these guys. Play the flag.
Dude, come on. What happened? Get the flag. Get the flag. Dude, their staffer tried to rip the flag from the staffer. They got sprayed with the Michigan players and Ohio State players both got pepper sprayed. But then Gus Johnson was like, Michigan wins this time without cheating. And then Michigan fans were like, fuck this dude. Fuck him for bringing up cheating. All right, let me go back to the scores. Dude, Ryan Day was like, "What happened?" There's a fight breaking out. Dude, what is this? They're up 59-0. This is a joke. Any college coaches go to the NFL, and who do you think will go? Maybe Lincoln Riley, I guess. I mean, that's kind of like the most obvious one. I don't know if that's going to happen, though. Did he really say that? Yeah, he said it at the end of the game. Dude, go on my X account and you'll see me. It's on there. Oh, I forgot my new X account.
Sharon Moore says we didn't cheat this time.
Dude, it's just so disrespectful.
Sharon Moore says we didn't cheat this time.
Sharon Moore waving bye to stunned Ohio State fans in an iconic image. We didn't cheat this time. The Michigan fans got so angry. It's such an S thing to say. Oh man, it is such a just. I mean, I'm surprised he said that. But Gus Johnson does tend to say some just weird shit. It is funny. I'm sorry. I mean, there's a few people that found it funny. Michigan fans did not, but it was funny. And it's like supposed to be this uplifting quote. Indiana needs to make a statement. I know, but this is getting out of control. This is getting to be too outrageous and disrespectful to Purdue and their program. Purdue has such a great football program, and this is just not necessary by Indiana. This is just not necessary to see something like this. I mean, Purdue is the equivalent to an FCS team, and you're going to run it up on them like this? This time. Wyoming beat Washington State. Washington State's been a disgrace this entire second half of the season. Washington State is not, they were like 8-1 or something, and they've lost like 3 games now. If Wyoming actually won that game. This Texas A&M has just done nothing this entire game. This is a bust of a game. Dude, Gus just says some weird shit, man. He says some stuff that's just like, what are you talking about? But that was funny. I'll give him that. Haven't they beaten Ohio State 4 years straight? Yeah. But there was a cheating controversy, and so that's why he said that. He get away from the cap speed. Yeah, Chris Johnson. He said that about Chris Johnson. Purdue wouldn't even make the FCS. No, they would be a middling FCS team. They would be like a 7-5 FCS team. They're terrible. But this is just outrageous what's happening. I feel bad for Purdue. They're calling timeouts. They're trying to get the ball back. Texas is about to score. Texas is about to put this game out of reach. It's about to be 24-0 possibly. Does Colorado still have a path to the conference championship game? I think they might need both BYU and Iowa State to lose. I believe that would be their path. If both BYU and Iowa State lose, maybe Colorado gets in then. Because, yeah, Colorado has 2 losses in conference. But it's looking unlikely Iowa State will lose, and then BYU, they're 12.5-point favorites themselves. You've got to look for OSU home playoff tickets. Yeah, that'll be a morgue. If they actually, hopefully, I'm guessing Ohio State will be put on a night game or like an afternoon game. If you look at the games, it's pretty crazy. So these are the games. Hold on, where are they? All right, so there's a noon game. This is the college football playoff first round schedule. It's on a Saturday. This is right before Christmas. A noon game on TNT, which I don't think they would put Ohio State on at noon. Unless it's like they're facing a really, I don't think they would do that. A 4 o'clock TNT game, I would not want to be on TNT. And then an 8 o'clock ABC game. And then is there... Yeah, so I guess, is that it? Oh, no, and there's also the Friday night game. My guess is they put Ohio State on Friday night at home. That would be my guess. And then the Alabama game is Saturday night. Alabama Notre Dame, I don't know if that's going to be the matchup, but they would do Alabama Notre Dame on Saturday night. Ohio State against Tennessee. No, it's not going to be Tennessee, but Ohio State against somebody on Friday night. And then they'll put Penn State on at noon because they don't like Penn State. Well, they might put Penn State hosting Arizona State on at noon. We probably will play at noon again. No, probably not. Hopefully not. Unless they put if they put Ohio State against SMU, then maybe they'll put them on at noon. But my guess is they'll put them on at 8 o'clock or 4 o'clock. Worst case scenario. The noon game, most assuredly is going to be like, or it's the Mountain West. No, the Mountain West champ's probably going to get a bye unless maybe something else happens. My guess is the noon game is probably going to involve Arizona State if they win their conference. And they don't get a first round bye. How will OSU host? Indiana's not above them. I wouldn't put Indiana above them. Ohio State beat Indiana head-to-head, and they've got way better wins in general. Indiana has not beaten a single ranked team. I understand you're going to say they have more losses, and I get it, I do, but I don't think Indiana would be above them. Indiana's strength of schedule is 10 times worse. All of their analytics are way worse. Notre Dame, even Notre Dame you can argue, but Notre Dame I would say is going to be above Ohio State. Tennessee I don't think would be above Ohio State. Texas with a loss to Georgia. Yeah, Texas with a loss to Georgia is another thing you can argue about. But even Texas, who have they beaten if they lose to Georgia? A&M, and that's it. Even A&M, though, what are they going to be ranked? They're going to have 4 losses. PSU, Penn State. Yeah, Penn State will be above them. The thing is with Penn State, it depends. If they lose to Oregon, will the committee punish them or not? Probably not. But if they get blown out, I think they would punish them. Penn State has just got to keep it close against Oregon, and they're probably going to be like a 5 or a 6 seed. Penn State needs a night game. Yeah, it depends who Penn State's matched up with, though, for them to get a night game. If they have to be matched up with Arizona State, like in a 5v12 game, they'd get a noon game, I'm guessing. It's just based on ratings. This is outrageous. They're punting again. It's going to be 66. Well, they might not score, but it might be 66-0. Counterpoint, Indiana beat Michigan, but Ohio State beat Indiana by a lot. If you want to do hypotheticals, it's not even a point in doing hypotheticals when the game happened. But I understand what you're saying because Indiana has 1 loss, but they also have a terrible schedule. Gus Johnson, best commentator. I think Gus Johnson has fallen off, but what he said was pretty funny. I mean, A&M 100-yard pick six. Is that serious? Are you trolling, man? Imagine it actually happened. You called it. No, I think it is a pick six. Yep, there it is. Dude, A&M is back in the game. Oh, there's a flag. Oh, there's a pass interference or something. Nope, maybe not. Texas A&M crawling back a little bit. Yep, holding on Texas. Maybe this is the turning point. Maybe this is the turning point. Man, how do you allow that to happen if you're Ewers, man? You just flip the game a little. Well, they're still up by 10. But they were about to put them away. Look at 2016. I know, but the thing is, this is the difference. You're comparing a 14 playoff versus a 12-team playoff. We're talking about seeding. We're not talking about is the team going to make it or not. They're all going to make it. The teams we're arguing about are all going to make the playoff. In 2016, Penn State versus Ohio State, that was an argument of if the team's even going to be in the playoff or not. These teams are all going to make it. It's just based off of seeding. So I think it's a little bit different than arguing about a 4-team. Iowa State better win. I don't know, man. Iowa State might choke this. If Iowa State loses, I think BYU then goes. Iowa State only up by 3. Yep, Kansas State with a comeback. Do you prefer pro or college? College. I've always liked college more, man. Oregon, I think, is going to cover that. What was that? I didn't even remember the spread in that game, but take a little look. FSU with 11 points. Good for them. They got a 2-point conversion. They just decided to go for 2 in the fourth quarter, but down by a lot. LSU. This is good for Bama. Well, I don't know. Bama lost to Oklahoma, but they beat LSU. UNLV with an easy win against the bad Nevada team. Virginia, yeah, I think Virginia Tech's a lot better, or at least they should have won 8 games this year. They blew some games. Virginia Tech did. They're going to finish 6-6. They'll make a bowl, but a crappy bowl. I think they were in a shitty bowl last year as well, Virginia Tech. BYU needs to lose, then Colorado gets in. Yeah, that's the problem for Colorado, though. I don't see BYU losing to a Houston team that's allergic to scoring. I mean, Houston cannot score. I was looking at Houston, like their offensive output, 10 points, 3 points, 24 points, 17 points, 14 points, 30 points, 0, 0, 33, 12, 7. I mean, they just don't score. They got to be the worst offense in Power 4. Houston. I don't see how they're going to score much against BYU in a cold weather game. I mean, what is the temperature? 33 degrees and snowy? No, I think it's supposed to be clear, but we really aren't going to get it. We're not going to get a snow game. Seriously. Do you watch the NBA? I used to watch the NBA, not a ton anymore. I mean, the NBA, the scoring is just out of control. The scoring is crazy, man. Syracuse got Bama in. It's possible. I mean, I think Bama would be if you're looking at all the 3-loss SEC teams, Bama would be the team that has the best chance. You want to throw the Big Ten championship so you can host Bama? But I don't think Bama's going to be the 12 seed, dude. Bama would be the 11 seed. You would be hosting Arizona State probably, honestly. If Oregon loses and gets the 5, I think they'd probably host Arizona State. But that's if Arizona State wins out. Another dogfight inbound in the ACC Conference Championship. Yeah, those are two evenly matched teams. I'll agree with you. I mean, the spread's only 2 points. Will Indiana host a playoff game? I don't. It's like a 50-50 chance. They're going to be, I think Indiana's either going to be an 8 or a 9, but I'm trending towards them being a 9 seed, so then that'd be no. But I mean, this is a good win, but it's against a bad team. SEC Network has the A&M game with no play-by-play call and just the PA announcers. Really? Is that probably because they don't want to steal viewers? I mean, the SEC Network is basically ESPN. They just don't want to steal viewers from ABC. Did you see the green court? Yeah, dude, I saw that. All of those courts are terrible. All of those courts are bad. The green court, the blue courts, dude, the NBA Cup is the dumbest thing ever, and I think everyone agrees. I mean, nobody cares about that. I would much rather they just have regular games on the regular courts. I mean, the NBA Cup is meaningless. It has no assigned actual value. It's not going to matter. No 3-loss teams deserve to be in. Well, it's all relative. I mean, if the season dictates a 3-loss team's going to be in, then you can't just say, oh no. I mean, a lot of this comes down to scheduling as well. Like, there's a lot of teams, if they had Indiana scheduled, they'd probably be 11-1, or at least a few teams would be 11-1. Although I can't really say that for sure because we have seen some upsets. But a lot of it, it's not necessarily that there should be no 3-loss teams. It's just it depends on how the year went. I mean, ideally you wouldn't have any 3-loss teams in, but I think probably one is going to get in. Do you think there will ever be a salary cap in college football? Well, that would have to be a whole nother thing. I mean, they would have to completely structure the contracts, and then the players would be employees, and all of their deals would be public, and then I guess that's how you would put in a salary cap. That seems so far away, because we don't even have actual numbers on how much teams are spending. I mean, you can hear about deals, through the rumor mill and stuff, but they're not being disclosed. Winner of the NBA Cup should get an auto playoff bid. Oh, dude, that would make it even worse, though. It's like, but why do they change the color of the courts? It's nasty, man. Iowa State is waking up. Yeah, Iowa State's on a bit of a drive now. Pretty important third down. Maybe I should go to this. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I should go to the Iowa State game. Is the Iowa State game being played in snow? I highly doubt it, but I would go to it if that was the case. I know we're getting some colder weather in the middle of the country. My chair just freaking fell. Dropped down. 2 of Bama's losses are terrible. Yeah, the Bama has bad losses but good wins, so it's hard. Travis Hunter or Ashton Genty for Heisman. I mean, obviously Hunter is gonna win. It's over, man. Hunter's gonna win. There's no doubt. We know that based off of the betting odds. But I mean, I would be fine with Genty winning it. I think it would be fine. I mean, we dealt with the same bullshit with Ohtani in baseball, where they're like, you can't really assign a value to somebody playing, pitching and hitting, playing offense and defense. You can't really scale a value for that. It's just based off of, oh, it's amazing. So we have to reward this because nobody else does it. But there's no actual assigned value. It's just all opinion. So, I mean, we dealt with the same bullshit with Ohtani. So it's like, well, Travis Hunter plays both, but he's not the best at either. But I don't know. I mean, listen, if there was ever a year for Travis Hunter to win it, it would be this year because there's no elite quarterback that just gobbles up all the votes. NBA Cup feels like a gimmick that we're going to look back on in 20 years and say, yeah, the NBA Cup doesn't have long for this world. It's going to be gone unless it makes them money or some shit. I mean, do they get better ratings? You know, I heard the NBA is really struggling with ratings, really struggling. This is a good drive for Texas, man. Yeah, this is a response drive for Texas. Touchdown Oregon. Yeah, Oregon is they're drilling Washington. I knew they would finish the season strong. Washington's really not a good team this year. Baylor currently the best team. Big 12 right now, except Kansas beat Colorado. Baylor beat Kansas. Dude, Baylor has been playing really well the second half of the season. They have been playing really well. I didn't even know they won today. I just didn't see their game. What was their game on at 3:30? Louisville crushed Kentucky. I mean, that's good for the ACC. They definitely needed that. Hey, UConn and I mean UMass is actually not terrible now. They scored 42 points. Duke finishes 9-3, probably the worst 9-3 team, man. But Baylor, dude, Baylor has definitely played really well. I mean, these are outside of the TCU game. These are pretty solid wins for Baylor. And they had a tough schedule too. Think about that. You're facing your first games on the road at Utah. That's a brutal game. At Colorado versus BYU at Iowa State. That's a brutal schedule, man. Baylor's an interesting team, but we'll have to see if they'll be able to retain their talent next year. You know how it is with the portal and everything. Florida now up by 20. Florida State, one of the worst seasons they've ever had, I would imagine. UNLV with an easy victory. A lot of these teams going for 2 now. Last game of the season. Marshall with a comeback against James Madison. And we're still waiting on 3 more games. Although, shouldn't they kick off by now? It's like 10:30. This game's supposed to start at 10:15. Colorado, that was a Hail Mary. Yeah, they had Colorado beaten. Dude, they beat Colorado. I can't believe they lost that game. That was an early season game, too. I remember that. Man, if Indiana scores again, 66, they are just pouring it on now. NBA hung on to LeBron too long. Yeah, I mean, I understand with NBA, it's all about the stars, but I also think they have just a problem within the way the game is played, with how offensive oriented it is and how many points are scored. I think the product is very hard to watch. There's just way too many points, I think. I mean, maybe people think that's better for kids because they'll be more interested because there's more scoring and stuff, but I don't know, man. It's just out of control. Florida only up by 20 is horrible, needs to score 40. I mean, I think Florida, that's a solid win for them, 31-11. I mean, FSU was obviously terrible, but about to be 66-0. Dude, they called a timeout. Yeah, they're running up the score. And they got angry at Ohio State for doing it last week. They're doing it even worse. Living on the East Coast got to be tough watching the game starting at 11 o'clock. Yeah, I mean, The East Coast is. I'm fine with the East Coast. I mean, I've lived in the East Coast time my entire life, so it's pretty standard to see games start. I mean, we have the latest we get is the sometimes the Hawaii games will start at basically midnight, which is 7 o'clock Hawaii time. But that there's no more games like that. I think their basketball team has some games like that. You know, there were some crazy starts for the college basketball with all the tournaments that were like 12:30 a.m. starts and stuff. Because the college basketball games, I don't know where the tournaments were like. I think they were in Hawaii. Yeah, Indiana is going. Do you think Notre Dame is a first round exit? It depends who they. I think Notre Dame's honestly going to get. I don't know about get screwed, but I think they're going to have to face an SEC team in the first round. I think they're probably going to get the 6th seed and have to face probably Alabama. Like Notre Dame at number 6, Bama at number 11. It wouldn't shock me. I mean, I'm sure Notre Dame's trying to get that 5 seed, and they think they're going to get it if Penn State loses to Oregon, but I don't know. I mean, maybe they will. I mean, Notre Dame just has a bad strength of schedule and a terrible loss. It's not a good combination. But the thing is, Notre Dame does have game control. That's a good metric for them. Analytically, they're a top 5 team because of how dominant they've been. Kent State on a 21-game losing streak. Yeah, Kent State is horrible. Texas fumble. Dude, Texas is blowing this game, man. Imagine A&M. I mean, they might make it. They could make it a 1-score game. That's the second time they fumbled in the red zone inside the 10. Well, the second time they turned the ball over inside the red zone. I mean, Ewers is giving this game away. Yeah, that ball is definitely out. What was the bad call yesterday? The Kansas City Chiefs game. It was I believe it was offsides or false start. I think it's like a false start that should have been called that wasn't, and they let the play go on, and the Raiders ended up fumbling it, and the Chiefs recovered. Normally with false starts, they blow them dead. It's pretty. Yeah, they scored again, 66-0. 66-0, dude. I mean, does Purdue even have 100 yards yet? I don't know if they have 100. They don't have 100 yards. Oh my goodness. This is like an FCS type thing. 586 to 73 total yards. Wow. I mean, they might get to host I mean, that's going to help their analytics. I know people say it's a shitty opponent, but when you win a game that dominantly, it's going to help. They're looking to try and host a playoff game, so they're really pouring it on. We got massive traffic in your city, and it was just people driving to the game. Well, what game are you talking about? Ole Miss is overrated. Well, I don't think people think Ole Miss is going to make it, honestly. Put in Arch Manning. I mean, this is bad from Ewers, but I feel like Ewers is their guy. I mean, he's got the experience. BYU game finally starting. Indiana going for 2. They should have kept going for 2. They would have got to 70 if they went for it to like 3 times. 70-0. Indiana just 1 field goal away. 69, yeah. They're not going to get there. Purdue's just got to put themselves out of their misery by kneeling it just to end the game. End their season at 0-9 in Big Ten play. Purdue had a really tough schedule, to be fair, but I mean, they're horrible, obviously. IU for 8 seed? Yeah, but how is IU going to get the 8 seed over Tennessee? Tennessee has better wins, I think. Marshall. I saw Marshall was tied the last time I saw. What did you eat today? Chick-fil-A. The majority of the fan base wants Arch Manning. Just dude, Arch Manning was not very good when he played though. That's the problem. I mean, he tries to be like a dual threat. I don't know, man. Oh my goodness, Dante Moore is now in. Yeah, they're Oregon's trying to run it up a lot. They're running it up with their backups. They're throwing with their backups. Tennessee lost to Arkansas. Yeah, but they got better wins. That's the problem. Tennessee has better wins by a lot. Indiana has no good wins. I mean, unless you think beating Michigan, which I mean, Michigan did beat Ohio State, but they're still 7-5. G Scott was part of the melee. Yeah, we needed a G Scott headbutt, preferably in the first quarter. I think it would have galvanized the team. And then Ohio State would have won easily. If you get a headbutt in the first quarter, you get a 15-yard penalty, but dude, that headbutt was legendary. We needed to see another one of those. It's unfortunate. James Madison with a touchdown. Vols lost to Arkansas. IU has no bad losses and huge margin of victory. Yeah, but what's their best win? That's the problem. They don't have a good win. Unless you think beating Michigan is a good win. And they barely beat Michigan on top of that. Day is killing us. Michigan now up to number 8 in recruiting. Yeah, but I wouldn't really worry about Michigan recruiting. They're just throwing a bunch of money at players and that type of stuff. They're like Texas A. Remember Texas A&M did that? That type of stuff never works. It's just a horrible culture. See, the difference is Ohio State, they're able to structure it. They structure it and stuff, and they do it. I mean, Michigan just pays like $30 million to a player. It's not going to be good for the locker room. It's going to ruin the program. I think all their recruiting is they're just throwing money at kids because they're desperate. And a lot of Michigan fans, they say their team is just, it's not good. I mean, when you give someone like Bryce Underwood $10 million, and you're alienating the entire locker room. And then Bryce Underwood's like, I demand to start in year 1. It's not good. I mean, this is a Texas A&M 2.0 situation. Texas A&M did this. I mean, they had the number 1 class, and it just doesn't work out. You have to form relationships with kids. It's not just about money. That's the thing. Why is Indiana kneeling it? Did they get the ball back somehow? Oh my goodness, that game's over. They got the ball back. Wait, how did Iowa State get a safety? Oh my goodness. Kansas State just sold the game with a safety. They blew that game. NFL mock draft video. I don't know, man. Do you think Arizona State squeaks in? Well, they have to, if they win their conference, then yes, they're gonna have to be in if they win their conference championship. Careful with the Indiana slander. I got called out earlier in the comments. I mean, I think Indiana will probably be, they're probably going to be on the road at Tennessee, if I had to guess. And that's being respectful to Indiana. I'm respectful to Indiana. I like Indiana football, but they're the little engine that could. They're a fun team, but the big dogs are going to come in, and it's going to be tough for them, especially if they have to go on the road in the SEC. Remember when Indiana faced a big dog like Ohio State, and you saw a blowout victory for the Buckeyes. Is a guy like Portnoy, yeah, from Barstool. Well, you know what he said? It was actually, this is how crazy it is with Michigan. One of the biggest billionaires in the world has a wife that likes Michigan. And so the billionaire invested a bunch of money into Michigan's NIL. I mean, that's really what we're doing nowadays. It's like, that's not going to be good for your program. Let's be honest. It's not going to, your program's going to tank if you do that. I mean, you've got some billionaire who doesn't even like the team and his wife is a Michigan fan. And I mean, and now you've got Oregon running up the score against Washington. Oregon trying to get to maybe a 50 burger. Notre Dame versus Georgia first round. Yeah, Georgia would have to lose to Texas. I mean, that would be Georgia as yeah, because Georgia would have 3 losses. I could see Georgia as an 11 seed. I mean, a 3-loss Georgia, would they be a 10 seed maybe? This is what the committee wants to avoid. Avoid Ohio State facing an SEC team at all costs in the first round. And avoid that's basically it. I'm guessing that's what the committee wants to avoid. Who will win, SMU versus Clemson? I don't know, man. I like Clemson, but SMU, it's a close game, man. It's going to be a close game. I think I might pick Clemson, honestly. Even though Clemson lost, I did pick South Carolina to beat Clemson, but I think I might turn around and pick Clemson to beat SMU. I think that might be the play. Who is the best defense in the country? Probably Ohio State is the best, actually, even though they didn't play very well. Why is Indiana the team receiving the most slander when you have teams like Texas, Penn State, Boise State, Notre Dame with no quality wins either? Well, Texas technically has potentially a quality win against A&M. And you know, so they do have a win against A&M if they win this game. Penn State, do they have any quality wins? Yeah, you're right. Penn State has both. I mean, what even was Boise State's? I don't even know what Boise State's schedule was. I mean, Boise State's best resume booster was losing to Oregon by 3. Honestly, that was their best. I mean, they've beaten no one. Yeah, you're right. They have beaten no one. They lost by 3 to Oregon. That's their best resume. I mean, this is a horrible schedule, but it's a Mountain West schedule. What do you expect? You know, it's like. But I mean, Boise State has to make it. They would be an auto bid. They're not going to get an at-large spot. So I don't think you would be arguing with them. Notre Dame, do they have any quality wins? Yeah, Notre Dame is a bad schedule. They do have a bad schedule, but they beat up on teams. And they've got a little bit better of a schedule. Well, I think maybe Indiana. No, I think Indiana does have a better schedule than Notre Dame because they faced Ohio State. How bad did Auburn lose? They lost by 14 points. Who is better, Penn State or Indiana? Probably Penn State. They got more talent. If you look at recruiting, Penn State is. I mean, I like Penn State a little bit. I mean, if you look at Ohio State against Penn State versus against Indiana, I think Penn State they'll give you more problems than Indiana. That would be my best guess. Colorado fans are so obnoxious. Yeah, I mean, but Colorado they're not even going to make the conference championship, I don't think, if Iowa State wins. 66-0. Notre Dame beat Army. Yeah, I mean, that's a decent win. Is Army ranked right now? That's another thing. They're not ranked. I mean, if Army ends up beating Navy and then Tulane, or I guess they put, dude, what a weird schedule, man. They play their conference championship game and then they play a regular season game. That's pretty crazy. Is Penn State a fraud? Probably, dude. I mean, they always seem to be a fraud on when they get into the bowl game, like a big New Year's Six bowl. Why do some people call you racist if you don't like Colorado? I mean, I don't really like Colorado, honestly, but I don't really think people, I mean, they call you racist because probably because of the Dion factor and stuff, I would imagine. I really never heard of that, but it's probably because of that. Curtis Rourke is him. Your Hoosiers. Yeah, I think your Hoosiers are probably going to face Tennessee on the road in the first round. How do you like that? What's your opinion of that? Indiana's going to be the 9 seed. They're going to face Tennessee, who's going to be the 8 seed. That's probably what's going to happen. How is Alabama in? Is because Miami falls? Yeah, well, that would be because if the ACC only gets one team in, then that would probably enable Miami or one of those other 3-loss SEC teams to potentially be in. That's if the ACC only gets one team in. But the ACC still has a chance if Clemson beats SMU to get 2 teams in, I think. Army is not a better win than Michigan. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Michigan is a really good team. We learned that today that Michigan has a good defense, but their offense is horrible. We got to admit that. I mean, we have to admit Michigan analytically is not a bad team. Now, Ohio State still should have won that game. It's inexcusable. It's a bad loss. Michigan is like 35th in terms of analytics. They're not terrible. You can beat Tennessee. That'll be a good game, man. That'll be a good matchup. Houston defense looking solid. Dude, this Houston team, we'll have to see what happens here. 0-0 early. Can Houston possibly try and get a 5th win and play galvanized in this final regular season game in a miserable, cold environment in the mountains? ACC gets one team. It depends. I think it depends on who wins the conference championship. I mean, if you want to leave SMU out, then I guess you can do that. I mean, because I think the ACC is a bad conference, but it just depends. Yeah, Texas right now, it looks like they're going to win this game, honestly. Thoughts on Brian Kelly's future? I don't know. I'd have to see the buyout. I mean, I think Brian Kelly's probably should be fired after losing Underwood, but it's not his fault. I mean, they just got outbid. It's just NIL. Will the Democrats really want Harris to run in 2028? No, they won't. They're not going to have Harris run. They're not going to allow that again. Ohio State versus Tennessee would be fun. Yeah, but I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, Ohio State would have to drop. I mean, I guess Ohio State could be 8 in an 8v9 game. Uh, I used to like you, but somebody asked if Indiana slander was worse. The Penn State hate is out of control. They are a good team. They have talent everywhere. Franklin needs to prepare better. Yeah, no, I like Penn State, man. They do struggle though. They do struggle against Ohio State and previously Michigan. Houston averages 13 points. Houston's terrible, man. Fuentes called me an on point chill feds. That's got to be a joke. Thoughts on Antonio Brown's X account? I don't even think he runs it, honestly, man. But it's a funny account. It's a funny account. Boise State versus Oregon rematch. It's unlikely unless Oregon loses to Penn State. You were pulling for Georgia Tech. Yeah, Georgia Tech should have won that game, man. Georgia Tech had like 10 chances. I know people complained. People complained about the targeting, but it's like, dude, you have like 30 chances to win the game. Pull up AGC's. Who's AGC? Texas imploding. Dude, you guys are way ahead of me, honestly. They're not imploding. It's a 4th and 7. They're just gonna play the field position game. Oh, dude, you guys are like 10 minutes ahead of me. It's disappointing. I mean, you're even ahead of this thing. Block punt touchdown. Was it a touchdown? If A&M wins, Texas is gonna fall lower, man. They're gonna probably still make it. He spiked that shit into the ground. All right, this is good. This is good. This is good. Is it because your time zones or your internet? No, it's because I'm not watching it on TV. It's going to be a lag. I'm watching it on YouTube. So that's going to be a lag. This is lagging. Honestly, normally this is better. But it really doesn't have to do with time zones at all when it comes to internet lag. TD A&M. Okay, now you're trolling me. Yeah, you're trolling me, man. I mean, you guys are way ahead of me, so this is unfortunate. Do you watch? You should get real. I don't know what that is. Do you watch F1? No, I don't, man. Fuentes says you're paid by Charlie Kirk. Is that true? No, that's not true. I've never spoken to Charlie Kirk before in my life. I mean, I don't even think I talked about Israel once before in my life either. You guys know I never even talk about the Middle East. I mean, it's obvious they're trolling. They make it too obvious, but they just got a 10-yard penalty. You're serious? A touchdown? Well, yeah, you're on a 2nd and 12. I doubt it. 1st and goal. I do trust you, Gerald. I do trust you. This is so behind. There's not even a point to watching this. It's because I'm watching it on freaking YouTube. First and goal at the 5. 1v1 Rust, who would win, Baron Trump or Elon? I don't know. I don't know how familiar Baron is with COD. I don't think Elon plays it either. I don't know. Probably Elon. They talk about his games and shit. Your best tweet: Dave Smith would call a teddy bear a warhawk. Dude, what do you remember what that tweet was? I don't remember. It was Elmo. It was Elmo. But dude, I mean, honestly, that was from like Dave Smith. Just oh my god, it's every time I listen to Dave Smith, it's something about someone's a warhawk. It's like we get it, man. Elmo. Michigan beat Ohio State. Yeah, they're 7-5. They're 7-5. Ohio State full frauds. Yeah, not a good performance. There's no doubt. Houston touchdown. Houston with an upset. Imagine Colorado gets in. No, it's not gonna happen. 4th and goal at the 1. All right, somebody tell me if did they seriously get stopped? Oh my god, dude. Why not just kick the because there's only 5 minutes left. But you seriously need to kick the field goal there. It's a 2-score game. Dems say Trump is Hitler. Me, Genghis Khan would like to have a word with you. Well, that's all just... They did stop him. This could have been a great game, man. It really could have been. I mean, that's a good stop if it happens. A&M is kicking a field goal. Well, the whole going back to that Dono, the whole Trump Hitler stuff is they overplayed their hand in 2016, and then their big October surprise in 24 was the generals and oh, Trump wants his generals to be like Hitler's generals. I mean, it was such an obvious October surprise too when CNN blared it at the top of their lungs during the 6 o'clock news when I saw it on like 10 days before the election. Trump, it said he's Hitler. I mean, it's the same exact bullshit they tried doing. They were going to call DeSantis Hitler, too, I guarantee. I mean, they already started doing it when they felt threatened by him. A&M got stuffed. You're trolling. You gotta be trolling. I should just watch this. BYU season just ended. Is BYU down 14-0 now? Or oh, what, Iowa State? Yeah, because Iowa State's about to win. Yeah, I don't really understand. I mean, if you're I can understand going for this because you're at the 1-yard line. Why not just QB sneak it? Oh my god, they got a 3-yard loss. Why not just QB sneak it? How far away is the yard? A&M got stopped. They are dumb for not doing... Yeah, they're dumb for just not doing a QB sneak from that close. Yeah, they should have just snuck it. Or honestly, if you're gonna do... I would do a fake... I would do a rollout, try and leak a tight end or something, because that's a really good defensive front, and they just... That's like an Ohio State play call. We were really hoping this was going to be a good ending, but it's not going. I mean, and plus they don't even get the ball at the 1-yard line. He lost 3 yards, so it's not like they're going to get a safety. Texas will just run it now. I have to take a piss, guys. BYU with a touchdown. I mean, I think BYU. I'm surprised they allowed 7 points to Houston. Yeah, what a boring game. What a boring finish this is to the season. This is normally how these games. I was in the bathroom, brother. This is normally how these games end, though. The final week. There's normally never great rivalry games at night. It's always noon and 3:30. Alabama possibly, and it is a possibility. Yes, it's a possibility. Good win for the Gators. I mean, Florida did have a good finish to their season. FSU was horrible though. 66 burger. They ran up the score. They ran up the score. I guess it's understandable they're trying to host a playoff game. He needs to stay in bounds, and he didn't even do that. You got to stay in bounds on a play like that. You thought Quinn would turn up once Trump got elected? Well, I mean, listen, at least they win this game. You got a good defense. Alabama, I mean, I think it's going to come down to the 11 seed is probably going. I mean, I'd have to look at it though tomorrow. I'll look at it, but I think the 11 seed is probably going to be either a second ACC team or one of the 3-loss SEC teams, probably Bama, because they've got the best resume. Favorite stadium? My favorite overall stadium, that's probably one of the newer ones with a sweet exterior. I don't know, man. Like for college football, my favorite stadium. Kyle Field's a massive stadium. It's hard with college football because they're all really old and they don't renovate them a ton. There should be no bowl games except playoff. Yeah, I mean, they just do it for revenue. But the problem with the bowl games is people just sit out if it's not for a chance to win the national title. 5-0 in the fourth quarter. Is FSU the biggest loser from preseason rankings to end rankings? I guess they are because they were. Well, yeah, dude, FSU had a historic collapse. You don't really see FS collapses like FSU, where you go from 9th to 2-10. I mean, normally those teams go like 6-6 or like Michigan 7-5, but 2-10 is crazy. FSU flag plant, another flag plant brawl. You're joking. That'd be the third one. Of course, Michigan's trending. Dude, I'm freaking freezing. Can Ohio State beat Texas or Georgia? Well, I mean, all those. I mean, it's going to be very hard for. It's going to be very hard for Ohio State to beat Texas. I feel like Texas is a lot more consistent. Georgia's inconsistent, but they've got a ton of talent. And obviously, Georgia beat Texas. So, listen, I think there's a lot of parity right now with college football, which is good. Vance was at the Ohio State game. I didn't see Vance. Was he seriously there? Because I didn't see anything on social media. UMass has kind of had a better better year than they normally do, even though they're like 2-10. If Boise State is a 5 or a 6 seed, there's something majorly wrong. I understand there's some. Well, they would actually be a 4 seed. They would be a 4 seed. They haven't met a true power conference team. Yeah, they did face Oregon and they barely lost. But I mean, with Boise State, them getting the 4 seed and them getting a bye just comes down to how bad the Big 12 is. Flag planting is overrated. It's just like every team is doing it now because it's rivalry weekend. But Haley was behind the Butler attempt. That's a new one. Nikki Haley was behind that. Come on, I haven't heard that. You think South Carolina will get in? I don't think South Carolina will make it now. The problem is they have the head to head. They don't have the head to heads. It's an issue. If all the teams have 3 losses and I mean they've been playing better more recently than the other two SEC teams, but I don't think they make it. I mean, I guess they could be maybe ahead of Ole Miss because that Ole Miss game happened, a while ago, but I don't know. Mike Norvell ripped the Gator flag up. Oh man, he's angry. What is it? What just happened? A kickoff return? What does this win do for Iowa State? I think they're in. They win, they're in. I believe that's it, right? Wait, did they face BYU and win? Um, no, they didn't face. It's gonna come down to some weird tiebreaker, but I think they're in. I think it comes down to like strength of schedule tiebreaker or something. Haley makes sense. She had the delegates and was at the RNs. I know, but I mean, I feel like that's a lot of speculation saying she was for sure going to get it. I mean, the majority of Republicans were not going to want Haley if something happened to Trump. And I think there would have been a huge power struggle at the RNC. I don't know what would have happened, but I don't think it's that easy to say they would have given it to her. There would have been so much backlash to that, and so many MAGA people would not have voted for Haley, so she probably wouldn't have gotten in anyways. But I mean, I guess they would have accomplished their goal because you get a liberal in. But I don't know, if she would be behind that because there's no way she would win if that's what happened because so many people would be against her being the nominee. Republicans. Matt, what's up, man? You go. Who are you going with? Clemson versus SMU? I think I might go Clemson, honestly. I don't know. I mean, SMU definitely. I feel like SMU still might make it, even if they lose. If they lose a close game, they'll probably make it. SMU. If Clemson loses, they're done. But I think Clemson's slightly better. I mean, it's close. Do you think Notre Dame will ever join a conference? I'm guessing they're holding out for like an amazing deal they can't pass up. Maybe they get some type of special privilege, some TV deal with a conference where they get more money or something. I feel like that's what they're waiting for. But I mean, my guess is the conference would be the Big Ten. They're not going to join. I mean, they're already like technically a part of the ACC in most sports, but the major jump would be obviously to the Big Ten or the SEC. But it's like the conferences are just getting so massive. Do you think Vance would have gotten it? Well, it's weird because they announced the Vance pick like right around the RNC, so it's an interesting dynamic. But I feel like if people knew that Vance was supposed to be the VP, they would have tried to give it to him. Or Vivek would have probably tried to, you know, there would have been a number. But I mean, if Vance was like announced, it was rumored that it was going to be him, and then I think it was announced, during the RNC. It's their NBC deal holding them back. How long is that NBC deal for? I mean, they could get out of it. I'm guessing they could get out of it if they really wanted to. There's a lot of Indiana fans, 66-0. I mean, yeah, that's a rivalry win there. Yeah, Texas is going to win. Touchdown Air Force. I didn't even know Air Force was playing. Indiana clinches. Yeah, Indiana's in the playoff. The question for Indiana is, will they host a playoff game or not? They're in. Indiana is for sure in. 11-1 with, that win. The analytics are going to improve. That's going to get them in. Houston's up 10-7. You think it's true with JD Vance that the more people hear him speak, the more they like how he articulates? Yeah. Do I think he could be a better candidate than Trump? I don't know, man. I mean, I think he could get more maybe moderate Democrats, but there's going to be a problem with turnout for really any Republican candidate outside of Trump, unless you can somehow galvanize the base. Like a lot of Trump's mystique and aura comes from his war against the media, and it's more of like an us versus them. And I don't really think you can replicate that. I mean, you can, to a degree, you can with somebody that's like a branch off version of Trump, which would be Vance. But Vance is, he's got a political background. He's more entrenched. I mean, but it's a different dynamic with him being like MAGA now. I think people, they like that. But I mean, Vance to me is someone that'll do better in a state like Minnesota and Virginia than Trump would. Although, but even that, it comes down to turnout in rural areas too. And I feel like Trump beats Vance in that. Good evening, Albert. Ohio State and Miami blew it. Yeah, I mean, Miami. But I mean, Ohio State obviously inexcusable, but inexcusable for Miami as well. What were they up 21-0? A&M fumble, game over. Yeah, this is a joke. That'll be the game. They have no timeouts too. Why are they yelling SEC? Who at the A&M game? I have it muted, man. Tucker destroyed Pence's political career. Well, Pence was never a serious candidate. It was never going to happen. He was running against MAGA. How do you run against the majority in a party? BYU win ASU versus ISU. Yeah, so I think BYU will win. I mean, Colorado, I guess, still has a chance then. So you're telling me Colorado still has a chance? I didn't think they had a chance if Iowa State won, but I guess they do. Hope that the playoff committee has no same conference playoff games this week. No one wants to see. Yeah, no, they're gonna switch it. That's a good point. They're 1,000% gonna switch it. They're not gonna have Ohio State face Indiana or those SEC teams play. Listen, it's gonna be Notre Dame versus an SEC team. That would be my guess. Ohio State possibly versus an ACC team, or Ohio State against an SEC team, and then Penn State probably against an SEC team or like an Arizona State. They're not going to have the same conferences face each other because it would be dumb if they did that. It just doesn't make any sense. You can manipulate the seeds to switch it. Duke might be the worst 9-3 team. Duke is so bad for a 9-3 team, man. Colorado has to get in. Would be great TV. Yeah, I know it would be great TV. What would Colorado get in as? Well, they'd have to win their conference. They'd probably get in as the 12 seed then, I guess. James Madison, that Marshall game is in overtime. Both those teams are 9-3. Marshall, James Madison. No flag plant for the Horns. Yeah, this game was kind of like, I don't know, man. 17-7. It looks like they're playing nice. Boy, Houston has the ball, or do they have the ball? BYU has the ball. I think BYU will win, but it would be funny if Houston won. Time for Houston BYU. Well, this is basic. Well, there's actually a few other games. This is a surprising high-scoring game, 14-7 first quarter. Any SEC team would beat Ohio State. I mean, the way Ohio State played today, yeah, they would. But, I mean, it depends, dude. A lot of this is wide open. It just depends if you're playing well on a certain day. Look at Georgia and how up and down they are. When are we getting the Epstein list? Hopefully when Trump gets in. I mean, you know how those things are. I mean, Trump promised to declassify a bunch of shit his first term. He didn't do it. But I think he's going to have to do it now because they're trying to be more transparent. You know, liberals say that Trump, he's not going to declassify it because they say he's on the list and shit. I mean, from what I know, Trump had a hostile relationship with Epstein after a certain point. He didn't invite him back to Mar-a-Lago. But who knows? I mean, they asked Trump if he was gonna make the list public. He kind of, Fox News asked him, I remember. He kind of like sidestepped the question and then said yes. You have a feeling Indiana's going to get screwed? I don't think they're going to get screwed. You go 11-1. It's good because the thing is now their Michigan win got a little bit better. Their Michigan win is not great, but it's at least a little bit better now that Michigan beat Ohio State. So does Travis Hunter have the Heisman locked up? Yeah, just look at betting. It's not, the betting makes it to where it's so obvious. I mean, he's like minus 3,000, or he might be like minus 10,000 to win the Heisman. It is what it is. If Trump was on the list, then the media would have used it against him. Yeah, I mean, the only argument against that would be there would be a bunch of liberals on it as well, which would just destroy their party. So I don't know. I mean, no, I agree with you though. They're so obsessed with Trump, they wouldn't care about sinking their own party. He's minus 10,000. I mean, what's even the point of betting? Imagine people bet on that. Will Trump be in prison after his second? No, I'm guessing Trump's smart enough to to do certain political maneuvers and maneuvers within the government to make it to where he's not going to have an issue with that in 2029 because they have talked about postponing those cases. I know what you're saying. I think Thomas Jefferson was your favorite president. Yeah, I said Thomas. People kept asking me who my favorite president is. I think it's so hard to look back that far, and because you didn't live in it, it's hard. But I guess I would say Jefferson because you don't. It's like everyone just says Lincoln, Washington. BYU touchdown. Yeah, not surprised. Michigan owns Ohio State. Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like they do right now. Is Harry Sisson I don't know, you get demonetized for saying that word. I think Chuck Norris. It's interesting to see the Democrats try and build out a younger sort of internet influencer base that they're trying to do with some of those guys I've seen. But yeah, I mean he's just a Democratic influencer. X today would tell you Lincoln is too woke. Well, I'm sure some people, yeah, and needs a teleprompter all the time. It depends what part of X you go on. Am I going to do more 9/11 videos? I don't know, man. I mean, I want to do this one video on like in relation to World War II, like abandoned World War II projects, mega projects, like the Palace of the Soviets, then the German Congress Hall. I'm interested in that. I feel like that would be kind of I don't know if I mean the 9/11 videos are very good for views and stuff. A lot of but I don't know, man. I've done so much content on 9/11. It's like what even is there? It's like there's not much left to even talk about. I guess there is stuff to talk about, but will Michigan football be back? Well, they're getting the number one player in the country, so that's going to help, and he's a quarterback, so we'll see. But I mean, starting a true freshman QB, it's not the easiest thing in the world. But they're definitely going to invest into getting receivers in the portal. They're going to get good receivers. Bama, dude, Bama's had a worse year than Ohio State, brother. Marshall's up 27-24. It's funny when Piers Morgan pairs someone like David Packman with Benny Johnson. Yeah, that's an interesting little thing Piers has going with those panels and stuff. I don't think that's even TV, because I thought originally he just takes the clips from TV and puts it on YouTube, but I think that's just they record it for YouTube specifically. Why did you pick the Aggies? Yeah, I know. That was not a good pick, man. That was a disaster. Do you think Trump will campaign super hard in 2026 midterms for candidates if he is popular and almost campaign as hard as if he were a president? I mean, I'm sure he'll campaign and endorse people. I don't think he's going to campaign that hard, being at his age and running the country. Though there's no way he can campaign that hard. When he was campaigning, he wasn't even president. So it's a lot bigger of an election than midterm elections. But I mean, he'll campaign for it. His scoreboard videos. I mean, it's kind of hard to do those because the scoreboards have to update to do them. I mean, I think the scoreboards have gotten worse, man. They have gotten worse. It's not even just nostalgia. Piers Morgan panels are constant screaming. Well, that's what gets views. I mean, it is, you put people that hate each other, and Piers Morgan will let them just go at each other because that's just good. It's good content. What do you think of Cash Patel? I mean, I like it, and I do think they will confirm him. Favorite Lego set of all time. I mean, it's hard. I mean, if you're talking about just regular Lego, when I was younger, I liked. I mean, this is just when I was younger though. I loved this Lego hospital, and it was discontinued, so I couldn't really get it. But my parents got it for me for Christmas, and that was a great set. I mean, obviously, looking at it's not a good set. It's not an impressive set. It's like a Lego city. When I was younger, that was. I mean, but like nowadays, there's so many different sets that Lego doesn't even sell and shit. There, you can get a lot of different sets. You think IU makes the playoffs? Yeah, they'll make it. They'll definitely make it, man. Who would you pick for the Giants quarterback? I mean, dude, I don't know about Sanders. I think with Sanders, it's such a whole operation with his dad and stuff. I mean, I feel like there's not really a great quarterback, unfortunately, for the Giants. I would go Ward, I guess. Destiny is the most smugly ignorant. Well, the problem with Destiny is with him, a lot of his arguments come from like liberals having the moral high ground, and then he goes and makes hopes Trump supporters get killed, and then says, "Well, you guys do it too." Okay, well then why would you have any moral authority if you're hoping for the exact same thing? But Vosh, I understand what you're saying about Vosh. The way he talks is very condescending and annoying. But I really haven't listened to much of Vosh at all, honestly. ABC's better than CBS. Yeah, CBS is kind of I don't know, man. CBS is the Big Ten contract now. But they don't get good games anymore. They get like second-rate games in the Big Ten. Going to a second overtime. Yeah, Marshall, James Madison, Cash Patel. Yeah, it is. It is John. Kevin, I appreciate it, man. CBS doesn't even get Ohio State games because of Fox. They get yeah, dude. Fox. I don't know how they got that deal to where they get like all of the Ohio State games. That is pretty crazy. But I mean, apparently Ohio State's like fuck this. We're done with these noon games, and they're pissed off. But I mean, Ohio State like they keep having it with Clad and Gus Johnson. It's just every week. It's the same thing. Thoughts on Ohio State proving their frauds? It's unacceptable. It's a really bad performance. There's no doubt about it. There's really nothing, there's nothing you can really say other than it was just a shit performance. Is Arch Manning the Heisman favorite? I mean, it really doesn't matter if you're the Heisman favorite or not. That the preseason. I mean, who was even the favorite this preseason? Phew. Who was it? I mean, it's like Big Noon is stale. ABC takes 30 minutes to kick off. Well, so does Big Noon. Big Noon takes like 15 minutes to even kick off. If you watch, it kicked off at like 12:18. Clyde is fine. His podcast is good. Yeah, Clyde has become like a college football influencer or whatever with that on YouTube. Gus Johnson always saying the world famous Buckeyes. Well, dude, Gus Johnson said some shit that really angered Michigan fans today. That was pretty funny. He was like, dude, it's just so funny. I'm sorry. I gotta find this, man. Where is this? God damn it. Yeah, Michigan got pepper sprayed. Booty Juice? Pete Buttigieg? Gus Johnson with the backhanded Michigan didn't cheat this time. That's what he said. And they didn't cheat this time. It's just you like CBS when they had SEC games? Well, yeah, because they always got the best pick at the SEC games. 6 straight noon games is awful. It's terrible. They're trying to fix their Ohio State's athletic director he's pissed off. They're trying to fix it. They're trying to say there should be a limit. Ryan Day's job in jeopardy if Ohio State goes one and done. Yeah, if they go one and done, I think he gets fired. I was saying if they go one and done, I think he gets fired. If they lose in the second round, I think he gets fired. If they make the semi, I think he might stay. And then if they make the national title, I think they'll keep him. That's what I would say. I mean, it just depends on if there's someone that's a replacement is ready. I mean, they would go after, you would love to get Dan Lanning, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that would happen. He's too entrenched. There's too much money with Oregon for it to happen. South Carolina is a lock for the playoffs. Bro, what are you smoking, man? Come on. Send him to Ukraine. Ryan Day, you've been selected to take a one-way ticket to Kiev, Ukraine, to join the fight for the liberals against the communist Soviet Union. Vrabel would be. I don't think Vrabel would be good because he can't. He doesn't want to recruit. You have to be able to recruit. I don't think Vrabel's a match. There's so much in terms of recruiting with NIL that you need nowadays. Thoughts on Michigan for the 12 seed? Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, they should make it. Do a rematch with Ohio State. As an Ohioan, do you do Thanksgiving with your family or on your own family? Tampa Bay Rays update. I've been meaning to do a Rays. Yeah, tomorrow I'll do one. I only did 2 videos today because of the football. But tomorrow I might do an update or Monday or something like that. Would you say Pete Booty Juice is the worst transportation secretary? I don't know. He knows a lot about trains. I mean, he's an expert. He's a real expert. Dude, there was a great tweet about Buttigieg. I should have quote tweeted it or something. But it was like Buttigieg's entire career has been just a checklist of like, and especially you don't want to shame someone for being in the military, but it seemed like the military service was just like a something to have on your resume when you're running for political office because it's so good to have. Like Buttigieg seems like the type of person that it was just a really good tweet. It's like a checklist for, being. I don't think they're gonna choose Buttigieg. It maybe the VP, but I mean he just doesn't have the. He doesn't have a. He's not a president to me. He just doesn't have the personality for it. Have you seen the scandals with the new Ukrainian game Stalker 2? People reporting bullets from. Let me look this up. Heart of Chernobyl. Oh, we got the emojis back. Oh, not XRP. Listen, XRP is a great coin if you want a 2x. Actually, I don't even know if it's a good coin anymore for a 2x after it just went up. I don't know. Not XRP. Not the XRP army, please. Please, we were going to avoid that. Do you think Daniel Jones sees action on the Vikings for a trick play? Yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones is a decent backup, honestly. He's a decent backup. He's a serviceable backup. I mean, but bring him in. I mean, it wouldn't really be a trick play. Everyone knows he's a quarterback. I guess he could be brought in with Darnold, I guess. Rumors are that Pete Booty Juice is running for governor of Michigan. Oh my goodness. Mayor Pete is all grown up. Oh God, not the load. I appreciate that reference with the loading emoji. When was that from, RB? What was that, 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago? Some random college football stream? Some people put their life savings into XRP at 20 cents. What is that? XRP ain't going to 20 cents, bro. It's at $1.90. It's done almost a 4x. And people are spazzing out over a 4x. I mean, based on its market cap, I guess that's good. Thoughts on the future of Wake Forest? Oh man. They're terrible. I mean, what were they this year? 4-8 maybe. I don't remember what they were. They're similar to they're like a worse version of Maryland football, honestly. Maryland went up 7-0 in this game. Didn't they score like right away? They scored on the first play and then got shut out 44-0, Maryland. A chat bracket. Oh, what a train wreck that was. What a dumbass idea that was, bro. A chat bracket. Yeah, that'll take like we'd be on like we'd be on the second round right now. We'd be on the Sweet 16 if I started that. That was going to take a year, man. You remember Young DG? I mean, I think he was in the stream earlier tonight. Yeah, he was. I remember Young DG. He was gone for like a year and a half, and then he showed up. I think like in maybe a few weeks ago. I haven't been streaming as much, but he doesn't do I don't think he does political stuff. He's probably like a 16-year-old kid. I mean, what teams are a lock for the playoff? I mean, there is like a college football playoff. Or this is who's going to make the playoff. Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Georgia, that's 6. Tennessee, that's 7. Indiana, that's 8. I think 8 teams are a lock right now. And then it depends on the conference champions and the stuff in the ACC. Thoughts on the A's and Rays stadium situation? It's not good. It's horrible. They're playing at minor league stadiums, both of them, for multiple years. It's terrible, but it's. I mean, what do you do? They need to fix the roof, I guess, for Tropicana Field, but it's kind of a waste of money. Election night, election night. My ultimate peak. My peak you're talking about? Yeah, that was an interesting one, man. Dude, I hit a wall on election night. You don't realize when you talk for like 8 hours straight, it's like you just hit a wall and then you're trying to just get to the end of it, honestly. It's like, come on, man. I should have just maybe had some more dead air or something, but I hit a wall. And then like it affects you. It's bad. All-state predictor. Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be updated. It's not updated. That's the problem. I actually want to see who is the leader in QBR. Oh, Cam Ward is. But, I mean, there's really no great... I mean, no one's even at a 90 in QBR this year. Don't know if attendance will be a problem for the Rays. I mean, it's always a problem, but I think the George Steinbrenner Stadium only seats like 11K, so that should be good for them. They should be able to sell it out, you would think. Can Montreal support an expansion team? I've heard conflicting things about their stadium. Well, not at their current stadium, no. No, they would have to build a new stadium. You're not going to put them at Olympic Stadium. Now, they are technically doing a massive renovation to Olympic Stadium, which is just dumb. Honestly, the best thing for Montreal would be, because they want to host a bunch of different events, and so they're like, well, we have to renovate the current roof to the stadium because it's a total mess. But they don't want to knock down the stadium because apparently it would cost a lot of money. Olympic Stadium, I'm talking about. But the best thing that they could do is build some type of transparent, maybe retractable type state. Although I don't know if you would want to do that because then it would have to be multi-purpose if they want to host. I guess it doesn't have to be multi-purpose if they want to host concerts, but they want to host concerts and a bunch of bullshit. And so they're sinking like $800 million into renovating the roof of Olympic Stadium. So I don't know. I mean, they would have to get a new stadium, though. Olympic Stadium would not be suitable for an MLB team in 2024. Congratulations. Congratulations to the Michigan Wolverines. You've earned yourself a one-way ticket to the Detroit Bowl. The Detroit Bowl. Congratulations are in order for the Indiana Hoosiers. You've earned yourself a one-way ticket to the Birmingham Bowl. Now, I like Indiana. Indiana will make the playoff. Congratulations are in order for the Alabama Crimson Tide. You've earned yourself a one-way ticket to the Alaska Bowl. Please talk about Illinois fighting Illini football. Look, Illinois is they're a ranked team. I like Illinois. Illinois is terrible, man, though. I mean, like, you want me to talk about Illinois? They're horrible. No, I'm kidding, man. They beat Northwestern. Good for them. Who remembers when Jimmy Kimmel accused Epstein of being, or accused, who remembers when Aaron Rodgers accused Kimmel of being on the Epstein list? Yeah, and then Kimmel threatened to sue Rodgers. Remember when Kimmel started crying after Trump won? He had a tough night. He had a leak in his tampon, and he was pissed. You want Nebraska versus Vanderbilt in a bowl game? That would get more ratings than a lot of the playoff games. That would get more ratings than a playoff game involving Indiana and Tennessee. Imagine the ratings of an Indiana versus... yeah, but Indiana's not going to draw in the ratings, man. Indiana, Notre Dame. Yeah, they should do that. Indiana, Notre Dame, snowy playoff game. I think that would be a good game, honest. That would be a good game. There's a Michigan fan at the BYU game. Oh, man. Is it Desmond Howard? All right, guys, this has been long enough. I've been going for a while here. This is... No, nothing like that. Congrats to OSU. You earned yourself a one-way ticket to a night game at Tennessee. No. RJ, the rumor, the committee is going to have Ohio State hosting SMU. Okay? If SMU loses to Clemson, Ohio State's going to host SMU to give Ohio State the easiest playoff game. Indiana versus Arizona State? Come on, dude, no. Indiana, you've earned yourself a one-way ticket to... You've earned yourself a one-way ticket to Knoxville, Tennessee, unfortunately. Ozzy here, enjoyed your political videos and your Titanic videos. A favorite topic of mine, you're heavily into NFL. You should check out the Australian Football League, even a reaction video. Daniel, yeah, is it a rugby league? Who says Illinois is terrible? All of my supporters hate Illinois. How proud are you for Syracuse winning? I mean, that's good that Syracuse won. I mean, good for Kyle McCord. He's the real QB1. He thinks he's better than Will Howard. Kyle McCord was like on Twitter, Kyle McCord was like, Google me at Will Howard. I mean, I give him credit. What if Kyle McCord was like, Google that at Will Howard? Oh, man. Cameron Scataboom started a premature white boy summer in December. Yeah, that kid's crazy. He's a mini Peyton Hillis. Nothing like rugby. Trust me, it's literally a new game that was invented in Australia in the 1860s. I'll have to take a look at it, man. Do you think the Eagles could beat the Lions? Where's the game? The Eagles could beat the Lions if they. I mean, look, in the NFL, there's a lot of parity. So the Eagles could beat the Lions. They would be underdogs, but if you're talking about in the playoffs, they'd be on the road. McCord and Gus Johnson. Dude, I gotta find that. That was just too funny. I thought I had it saved. Well, here's this.
Looking, and it's intercepted at the goal line. Unbelievable.
We won the national title.
Wow, Jack Sawyer, the hero, Captain Jack.
Dude, they acted like they just won the title with the helmet.
At the goal line. Unbelievable. Wow, Jack Sawyer.
Dude, that's a climax.
The hero. Captain Jack.
The hero they lost. The hero. The ultimate Chad. Dude, he's like, I'm gone. I'm done. What happened? Steal it from him. Steal it. Rip it from him. Yeah, they got pepper sprayed. Oh, you know what? It was on my channel.
Oh. Sharon Moore says we didn't cheat this time.
And then it's just Will Howard.
Sharon Moore says we didn't cheat this time.
Dude, they gotta be so pissed off at that. Oh man. Ryan Day got cucked. Yeah, that's the face of a man that's headed straight that's going to Kiev. He is pissed off. He's like, what happened? There he is. He's just watching his player have a temper tantrum.
Fuck that shit, man! Fuck these guys! We're the one on field, fuck you!
The hero Jack Sawyer, really?
We're not fucking playing the flag on our field again, bro!
Dude, Ryan Day's not even doing it.
Fuck that shit, man! Fuck these guys!
He's got an intern taking him out. A total mess. You think Georgia or Notre Dame would win at Notre Dame? So Georgia going on the road. I think Notre Dame. I mean, that'd be a hell of a game. That would be Notre Dame losing to Texas, and then yeah, I could see that. I could see that matchup. What was the Pete Booty Juice video being hyped up? I think it was when Pete derailed a train on purpose, and they called him a hero. That was it. You're right. But guys, that's gonna do it for this live stream. The live stream went off the rails just like Pete's trains. The pepper spray was on. Dude, they started pepper spraying both teams. Give me Boise State winning 2 playoff games if they don't get a bye. It depends who they face. It really depends who they face. But I think it's going to be hard for Boise State. They're so one-dimensional. Google me. Dude, what if someone on Michigan was like, Google that bitch at Will Howard? What if he's just like, Google that bitch at Gus Johnson, at Joel Collette? Daddy, what are we gonna do? Remember that? The Hunter Biden? Oh, man. All right, guys, I'll be seeing you.